Fallout 3 has a bunch of cool and unique weapons, but not every weapon design imagined managed to make it into the final release version of the game. For one reason or another, plenty of unique creations and designs and ideas were left in various states of development and had to be abandoned or cut. It is thanks to data miners and modders that we know of 26 weapons that, while not making it into the release version of Fallout 3, have evidence of their existence that was left behind in the game's files. Let's go over them. This is every Fallout 3 cut weapon explained. The 22 pistol. We're starting off today with a real quick one. Within the Fallout 3 game files, the firing sound effect for the 10mm SMG is called WPN Pistol 22. Strangely enough, however, there is no 22 caliber pistol in Fallout 3. And so this has led to the belief that at some point there was going to be a 22 pistol, but it was cut from the game, and some of its associated files, like the firing sound effect, were recycled for other weapons. Weapons that do appear in the game. There is no 22 pistol in Fallout 3, but if you close your eyes and just listen to the 10mm SMG fire, you can imagine that there is one. Black Bart's Bane. The next weapon is Black Bart's Bane. It is a unique variant of the BB gun, but like every other weapon on this list, it was cut for one reason or another. Stat-wise, Black Bart's Bane has double weapon damage, critical damage, and durability when compared to the standard BB gun. It can fire 417 times before breaking. Like the Red Ryder BB gun found in Fallout 1 and 2, Black Bart's Bane's name serves as a reference to the 1983 movie A Christmas Story. In the movie, young Ralphie gets gifted a Red Ryder BB gun. Shortly after opening said gift, he takes aim at a target across the yard and says, "Okay, Black Bart, now you get yours." The Black Bart that Ralphie is referencing to in the movie is the infamous American outlaw Charles E. Bowles, aka Black Bart. Breaker. The next weapon is called Breaker. Breaker is a unique nailboard. It would have been the second unique nailboard in Fallout 3, with the other being the Board of Education. Relative to the standard nailboard, Breaker deals 1.5 times damage. In fact, it has almost identical stats to the unique Board of Education, with the small caveat that Breaker cannot crit. This fact makes the Board of Education vastly superior, and at that point, why even have two unique nailboards in the game? One is clearly much worse. It's also a very uninspired name. Breaker is probably the most generic name you could call a melee weapon. Like, we get it, it's gonna break things. It would be better suited for a unique pool cue, I think. But Fallout 3's unique pool cue is already called the Break, so why have the Breaker as well, you know? It'd just be too confusing. Clover's Cleaver. Clover's Cleaver is not a unique meat cleaver, but rather a unique variant of the Chinese officer's sword. Now you might be saying, Nort, Clover already uses a Chinese officer's sword. What gives? And I say, yep, she does. So Clover's Cleaver was cut in favor of her using a different Chinese officer's sword, and I think I might know why. The sword that Clover uses in-game shares identical stats with the standard officer's sword, but Clover's Cleaver is much stronger. It deals an additional 11 DPS and has 12 more critical damage, making it quite strong. It has similar stats to the Vampire's Edge unique sword. My guess would be that this weapon made Clover a bit too strong in melee combat for a companion. Also, calling a sword a cleaver just feels plain wrong. Thank goodness it's cut. Concussion Grenade. The concussion grenade is another cut weapon similar to the 22 pistol. There is very little evidence that the grenade ever existed in the game files, outside of a few sound files that can be found when perusing the GEC. No models or textures, Just a handful of sound files is all the evidence we have for a concussion grenade once existing. Cryolator. I'm not sure if having a favorite cut weapon is weird or not, but if I were to have a favorite cut weapon, it would probably be Fallout 3's cryolator. Unlike the version found in Fallout 4, Fallout 3's cryolator would have taken on a more homemade appearance, having been put together with various junk items like a crutch, liquid nitrogen canisters, and a coolant component. Interestingly enough, while there is concept art of the cryolator, albeit with slightly different spelling, there does not exist any files for the weapon in the GEC. But when you can't find something in the GEC, there's a second place to check for textures and meshes, and that is within the Bethesda Studios archive file, or BSA. From what I understand, the BSA stores game asset data, while other data like item, character, and world space information are stored in separate ESM record files. The GEC can read these ESM record files, but not the BSA file. So you'd need a different third-party tool to view these individual files within the BSA file. And it is within the BSA file that the meshes and texture for the cryolator can be found. What a cool looking weapon, eh? Curse Breaker. The next cut weapon from Fallout 3 is the Curse Breaker. The Curse Breaker is a unique version of the baseball bat. It deals more damage, 13 versus 9, and has a better crit chance multiplier, 1.5 versus 1, when compared to the standard baseball bat, making it quite good. It can swing 923 times versus the default bat's 889 times. Now, this may be a tad surprising, especially coming off the recent Fallout 4 Unique Weapon Explained video, but Fallout 3 doesn't have any unique baseball bats. Now, believe it or not, but there are actually a lot of curses in regards to the sport of baseball. A quick Google search even gives this article about 10 craziest baseball curses. But the most famous baseball curse is the Curse of the Bambino. After Babe Ruth was traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees in 1919, the Red Sox went on an 86-year-long championship drought, while the Yankees became one of the most historic baseball teams in MLB history. Now, some say that the curse was broken in 2004 when the Red Sox won the World Series. And as Bethesda started working on Fallout 3 in July 2004, and the Red Sox won Game 4 of the World Series in October 2004, it is likely that this Curse Breaker baseball bat was made in reference to the Red Sox breaking the Curse of the Bambino. Curse Breaker. Excalibar. No unique baseball bats in Fallout 3, but 2 unique cut baseball bats. Make it make sense. Excalibar has the exact same stats as the Curse Breaker, making it quite better than the default baseball bat. The only major difference is that Excalibar can only swing about 250 times before breaking, a significant decrease in durability. The weapon's name serves as a reference to the 1995 first-person shooter game, Rise of the Triad. The game features a magical glowing baseball bat called the Excalibar. And then, of course, Excalibar is also a play on words of King Arthur's mythical sword in the stone, Excalibur. Law Dog. The next cut weapon is a unique 32 pistol called Law Dog. It would have been the only unique 32 in Fallout 3 until the release of the Pit DLC, where Wild Bill's sidearm would be added. While Law Dog isn't as powerful as Wild Bill's sidearm, it is better than the default version. Law Dog deals 9 damage compared to 6, but the rest of the stats remain the same. As for the weapon's name, I'm not really sure what it could mean. 32 revolvers were a common sidearm for many American law enforcement agencies, with Colt making the police positive in 1905, so that covers the law part of the name. And then I'd wager that the dog part comes from the old saying about dogs being man's best friend. Perhaps this sidearm is the police officer's best friend. Oh, and I did find this picture while doing my research. Do with it what you will. Love Tap. Love Tap is a unique variant of the brass knuckles. It would have been the fourth unique variant of the brass knuckles, with the others being steel knuckles, spiked knuckles, and Plunkett's valid points. Love Tap deals significantly more damage than the default brass knuckles, 8 versus 6, has a better crit multiplier, 2 versus 1, uses fewer action points in VATS, 15 versus 18, but breaks a lot faster. Love Tap can strike 250 times before breaking, compared to the default knuckles 667. So there is a bit of a trade-off there. Still though, Love Tap would not have been the best knuckles in the game, as Plunkett's valid points does have better stats across the board. As for the name, Love Tap is a sort of slang to mean a light punch or tap, one that is not intended to be hurtful, but rather affectionate. It's a love tap. Lurk Bait Grenade. Another cut grenade from Fallout 3 is the special frag grenade, the Lurk Bait Grenade. Based on the name, I'd expect that the grenade was meant to attract nearby Mirelurks and then explode, similar to, say, the Left 4 Dead's pipe bomb. However, if one console commands the grenade into their game and throws it at a pack of Mirelurks, they will notice that it does absolutely nothing. The Mirelurks ignore the grenade entirely. Even worse, while the Lurk Bait Grenade does use the frag grenade model and explosion effect, it actually deals 0 damage. It's quite useless. I'm sure it would have been a very niche tool for clearing out the Anchorage Memorial if it was ever fully implemented, but alas, it is not. Molotov Grenade. Let's keep it going with the grenades. Another thrown grenade that didn't make it into the final version of Fallout 3 was the Molotov Cocktail. While the weapon was never fully implemented, the game files reference it quite a bit. The model file is referenced in the GEC, and a sound file for the weapon can also be found in the GEC. And lastly, the description for the cut throwing skill mentions the Molotov Cocktail by name. The Molotov Cocktail would even come with a custom flip lighter that the Lone Wanderer would use to ignite the grenade's cloth. This lighter, like many other models, would be reused in New Vegas for the dynamite igniting and throwing animations. The Molotov Cocktail would make a return in New Vegas's Honest Hearts with the introduction of the firebomb. Nuka Cocktail. Similar to the Molotov Cocktail, the developers of Fallout 3 also cut a throwable device called the Nuka Cocktail. The Nuka Cocktail was essentially a Molotov cocktail, but made with a Nuka-Cola Quantum. The weapon would be a craftable weapon, requiring a bottle of Nuka-Cola Quantum, a tin can, turpentine, and a Braxo cleaner to make. Die-hard Fallout 3 fans might recognize these ingredients as being the same ones needed to make a craftable throwing item that wasn't cut from Fallout 3, the Nuka Grenade. As such, it's not hard to imagine that this Nuka Cocktail served as some sort of predecessor to the Nuka Grenade. I mean, you don't need 2 Nuka-Cola themed grenades, right? O'Grady's Peacemaker. Okay, we're done with grenades. For now. The next cut weapon from Fallout 3 is a unique police baton called O'Grady's Peacemaker. It would have been the only unique police baton in Fallout 3. It was meant to be carried by an NPC named O'Grady, who was also cut from the game. When compared to the default police baton, it deals more damage, 6 versus 4, has a higher item HP, being able to swing 1,333 times versus 1,250 times, but it comes with a higher AP cost when used in VATS. As for the name, tvtropes.org has a page titled Officer O'Hara. It details how in every police precinct, you will often find several police stereotypes, with the most common one being a stereotypical Irishman. This is what they call an Officer O'Hara. I think the NPC O'Grady and his Peacemaker were meant to fill this Officer O'Hara trope. Though then again, this is speculation as both the NPC and weapon were cut from the final version of Fallout 3. Grenade launcher. This is a bit of a fun one. On February 6th, 2009, the Bethesda Games Studio YouTube channel released a video called Fallout 3 GECK Quick Tips 3 Weapon Creation Part 1. It's a bit of a wordy title. In the video, Fallout 3 level designer Phil Nelson gives a brief tutorial on how to use the GECK editor to make your own custom weapons. The video shows him turning a combat shotgun into a modified grenade launcher. It's a quick and easy 4-minute tutorial. Now, 3 months after that video was posted to YouTube, Fallout 3's third add-on, Broken Steel, was released. Within the game files for Broken Steel was a cut weapon called the Grenade Launcher. If one console commanded the weapon into their game, they would notice that it looked like a typical combat shotgun. Do you see what I'm getting to? So, it would appear that the weapon Phil made in his GECK tutorial managed to find its way into the Broken Steel game files. Isn't that neat? The grenade launcher deals 55 direct damage with an additional 100 damage explosive effect. It's quite powerful. It can fire 145 times before breaking and can be repaired with other standard combat shotguns. I mean, even the weapons editor ID has it listed as Test Phil Grenade Launcher. Wanda. Of all the cut Fallout 3 weapons, I feel as though this might be the most well-known. Wanda is a cut assault rifle found in the game files for Fallout 3. One could argue that it would have been the only unique R91 assault rifle, as the other unique ARs in Fallout 3 are infiltrator variants from the Pit DLC. Relative to the standard assault rifle, Wanda slaps, having a whopping 96 damage per second compared to 64. It also comes with a larger magazine size, being able to fire 30 rounds before reloading versus 24. It would have been a pretty sweet weapon. It's just too bad that it didn't make the final cut. Discharge Hammer. The next weapon is the Discharge Hammer. It is a unique variant of the Super Sledge found in the game files for the Broken Steel DLC. The weapon shares the exact same stats as the default Super Sledge, but was supposed to come with an effect that would make it deal additional damage to robots. The name of the weapon is in reference to its special effect. I suppose the weapon is meant to expel some sort of electrical discharge when you swing it, dealing extra damage to robots and making it a discharge hammer. We would see effects similar to the cut Discharge Hammer in New Vegas with the pulse gun, grenades, and many others. Lightning Gun. This next weapon is likely the most unique weapon Fallout 3 could have had. It's definitely one of the most bizarre guns in maybe all of Fallout. So the Lightning Gun is a unique variant of the laser rifle. Now, what makes it unique isn't some green beam or beam splitter, but rather it has the strangest firing mechanics Fallout has ever seen. Maybe even stranger than Euclid's C-Finder. At least that has an in-lore explanation. When you fire the lightning gun, a laser beam fires out as you'd expect. However, at the point of impact, a gas cloud starts to form. A moment later, the gods themselves fire a second laser bolt into the gas cloud, igniting it. How weird is that? Now I have some hypotheses as to why it was cut from the game. So first of all, it has some really weird interactions. The second laser beam can be blocked by terrain or other objects, making it so that the gas cloud won't ignite. If an enemy is killed by the second beam or the ignition of the gas cloud, perks like Contract Killer and Lawbringer won't activate because you didn't technically kill the target yourself. And the worse offender, sometimes the weapon will bug out, making gas clouds rapidly spawn. Then once the second beam comes in, it will ignite all the gas clouds at once, creating a massive explosion, painfully bright lights, and an annoying buzzing sound. This symphony of effects may cause your game to crash. It is wild. As for the name, I'd reckon that the second laser bolt and gas cloud explosion were meant to mimic some sort of lightning strike, as if Zeus himself were smiting the area in which you shot the weapon. Maybe if the weapon wasn't so buggy, the textures and effects would have been changed to reflect this. How cool would it have been to have a gun that causes lightning to strike? Sure, it wouldn't really have a place in lore, but you'd have to admit that it would be quite cool. Please do let me know if you can think of a weirder, unique weapon than this. The Tesla Cannon. Stop, don't type anything. I know the Tesla Cannon already exists in Fallout 3, but this one is different. For starters, it looks nothing like a Tesla Cannon, instead taking on the appearance of a missile launcher. It also doesn't use electron charge packs, rather it uses missiles. It's a Tesla missile launcher cannon. The reason for this is because this Tesla cannon is likely a developer version, aka an early precursor to what would eventually become the Tesla cannon. Compared to other Tesla cannons, this missile version deals less damage and costs more AP to use, but it can be repaired with standard missile launchers. Not that bad of a trade-off. Other than that, it has the same explosion and splash damage that you'd expect from a normal Tesla cannon. Now, maybe the coolest thing about this weapon is that it can actually be acquired without console commands. One copy of the weapon can be found outside of the map boundary at the satellite relay station. Using some careful parkour, or using the dogmeat weapon find command, one can obtain this beta version of the Tesla cannon. Pretty neat, huh? Katana. Hey, stop that, don't type anything, I know. Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta already has a samurai sword. But just like the Tesla cannon that we just mentioned, it would appear that Fallout 3's game files also have a sort of beta version for the samurai sword, and that is the Katana. And also be thankful that the Katana did not make the final cut of Fallout 3, as it is much worse than the samurai sword. The Katana deals 15 damage versus 24, deals only 4 extra damage on crit compared to 40, and has a worse crit multiplier, 1 versus 2. It's quite bad all around. But one thing that the Katana has that the samurai sword doesn't is a unique on-crit effect. When you critically strike an enemy with the Katana, it makes the target fall to the ground. So if you have a high enough crit chance, you can kinda chain CC them to death. So there is that. Still, I'd much rather just have a stronger weapon. It's kinda just a worse Vampire's Edge. As for the name, a katana is a type of Japanese curved sword, and they are most often associated with the samurais of feudal Japan. As Toshiro Keigo is a samurai that was abducted by aliens, just like the samurai sword, the katana would have fit well into the DLC's lore. Spanner. This has to be up there for one of the weirdest cut weapons. Fallout 3 has wrenches scattered around the Capital Wasteland. It even has a unique wrench, but they can never be equipped as a weapon. They are merely junk. However, at one point, the Mothership Zeta DLC sought to change that. The spanner was a cut, unique variant of the wrench. It could be equipped and used as a weapon. Stat-wise, we can't really compare it to anything, as it would have been the first of its kind. But weirdly enough, the spanner actually shares the exact same traits and stats with the previous cut weapon, the katana. 15 damage, 4 additional damage on crits, and a 1x crit multiplier. I mean, it even has the knockdown effect too. Very strange. And for those who may not know, a spanner is just another name for a wrench. Gus Rifle. Alright Nort, you really gotta stop with these weapons that are clearly not cut from the game. Fallout 3's Anchorage DLC already has a Gauss rifle. And I say, but it doesn't have this Gauss rifle. The cut Gauss rifle was a beta version of the Gauss rifle found at the end of Operation Anchorage. Instead of taking on the appearance of the Gauss rifle, it instead looks like a laser rifle. When compared to the final version of the Gauss rifle, this beta version has a 5-round magazine size versus 1, deals only 23 damage versus 100, crits happen less frequently and deal less bonus damage, but it does knock down enemies on every hit, rather than just on critical hits like the in-game version. What's up with all these DLC weapons just being knockdown machines, eh? The last 3 weapons we spoke about all have knockdown effects. Though I do suppose it's better than knock-up effects, right? Signal Flare. The next weapon is a truly cut weapon, and by that I mean while you can console command the Signal Flare into your game, it doesn't really do anything. It's probably the most bare-bones cut weapon in Fallout 3. Sure, it's called a Signal Flare, but it looks like a frag grenade, and when thrown, it disappears. Very reminiscent of the Lurk bait grenade, but at least that still exploded and had a few associated scripts. This has nothing. Based on the name and the DLC it's found in, Operation Anchorage, you could imagine that it was meant to signal a target for an airstrike or something, or maybe used to light the way for a darker section of the game. You know, things that flares are designed to do. But for one reason or another, the Signal Flare never made it into the final version of the game. Smoke Grenade. Our final thrown weapon in this list is the Smoke Grenade. Based on the name, you'd imagine that the grenade would emit a gray cloud of smoke. However, it does not do that. Instead, it's basically a differently named frag grenade. It has the same animations, model, and textures, and deals the same 100 explosive damage. What's fun about the smoke grenade, however, is that just like the Tesla cannon, you can find it out of the map boundary. If one does a bit of parkour, you'll be able to get out of bounds and eventually find 6 floating smoke grenades. So while technically cut from the game, they can still be found in the game. Test Gun. Maybe the most ominous sounding weapon is Test Gun. Test Gun takes on the exact appearance and stats of a normal 10mm pistol. Same damage, durability, everything, but it does have one special effect. It fires inert frag grenades. It's quite funny. The wiki says it crashes your game when you use it, but as you can see, my game seems just fine. Pause Fishing Aid. And the final cut weapon on this list is Point Lookout's double-barrel shotgun, Pause Fishing Aid. When compared to the default double-barrel shotgun, Pause Fishing Aid deals slightly less damage, 80 versus 85, but it does deal more bonus damage on crit, 40 versus 30. The special bit about the weapon is that it actually fires twice the amount of pellets, 18 versus 9, and as each pellet has an individual chance to crit, it makes the weapon quite powerful. Still, like all double-barrel shotguns, it can only fire twice before requiring a reload. The name is in reference to the redneck idea of using a shotgun to fish. By shooting the water, it creates a shockwave that can either stun or kill fish, similar to the highly illegal practice of blast fishing. As the saying goes, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. And that wraps up our exploration into the many known cut weapons from Fallout 3. Based on the bare-bones nature of many of these weapons, it would seem that a lot didn't make it too far into development. Others are the beta remains of other weapons that did make it into the game. With all these weapons now covered, I want to know, which ones would you have loved to see make it into Fallout? For me, I don't know how serious it would have been, but the lightning gun seems way too cool to be left out. Let me know. But that's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Like I told you, man, I don't f***ing know where it came from, but it freaks the boys out. Some story from a while back about a stranger with no name. Just get rid of the damn thing. Ain't no good gonna come from keeping it around. Besides, if it is his, maybe he'll come back for it. Comprende?